Hey Rebels, it's Wednesday the 17th of February, and this is Pirate Post Weekly, news for nonconformists. The Mandalorian strikes back, and so much more is coming your way, so stick around for summaries of all the freedom and liberty news that you need to know. If you're a nerd, sci-fi movie nut, or anyone who's sick to death of cancel culture like I am, you've heard about Gina Carano getting fired by whiny liberal rag Lucasfilm and Disney for a social media post. According to Yahoo News, in an official Lucasfilm statement, Gina Carano is no longer a part of the Mandalorian cast after many online called for her firing for a social media post that likened the experience of Jews during the Holocaust to the US political climate. It seems that progressives get triggered with any kinds of those kind of comparisons. That is, unless they're the ones who are making them. Trump is literally Hitler. OMG, Gina Carano compared the current political divide in the United States to Nazi Germany. Anyway, not one to take things lying down, Carano is striking back. It took her less than 24 hours to secure a new role in a feature film from the Daily Wire. The Daily Wire's first feature film, Run, Hide, Fight, from producer Dallas Sonyer, was released in January, and it received an unbelievably high 93% positive rating on Rotten Tomatoes, even though plenty of their critics tried to have it torpedoed. According to Carano, the Daily Wire is helping one of my dreams to develop and produce my own film come true. I cried out and my prayer was answered. I am sending out a direct message of hope to everyone living in fear of cancellation by the totalitarian mob. I've only just begun using my voice, which is now freer than ever before, and I hope it inspires others to do the same. They can't cancel us if we don't let them. And the Daily Wire, they couldn't be happier to have her. They say, we could not be more excited working with Gina Carano, an incredible talent dumped by Disney and Lucasfilm for offending the authoritarian Hollywood left. This is what Daily Wire exists to do, provide an alternative, not just for consumers, but for creators who refuse to bow to the mob. Speaking of cancel culture and censorship, anti-vaccine activist and son of former U.S. Attorney General Bobby Kennedy, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has been thrown off of Instagram for going against the mainstream narrative of the COVID-19 vaccines. According to The Guardian, Facebook confirmed on Wednesday that it had removed the profile of Kennedy Jr., a vaccine skeptic who chairs the Children's Health Defense Group that basically ties childhood conditions to a number of factors, including vaccines, as part of a social media platform's efforts to remove vaccine misinformation. Kennedy, not surprisingly, disagreed with the decision and backed up his claims in a strongly worded statement. In his letter, he said that every statement I put on Instagram was sourced from a government database, from peer-reviewed publications, and from carefully confirmed news sources. None of my posts were false. He says that the mainstream media and social media giants are imposing a totalitarian censorship to prevent public health advocates like myself from voicing concerns and from engaging in civil, informed debate in the public square. And of course, all of this follows the technocratic monopoly dictating what is fake news and what is science, because apparently they've never heard the Francis Bacon quote that half of science is putting forth the right questions, because they all seem to be committed to stopping the questioning of everything. The timing of this deplatforming was especially suspicious because it happened only 15 minutes before they were supposed to go live with a webinar called COVID Vaccine on Trial, If You Only Knew. It highlighted COVID concerns, injuries, mechanisms, and other facts from MDs, several PhDs, and leaders from the vaccine-injured community. And finally for today, as far as cancel culture goes, Quaker Oats has bowed down to political pressure and changed the Aunt Jemima brand name to the Pearl Milling Company. Yes, the wimps at the Pepsi-owned Quaker Oats company said in an official statement, the name and image does not reflect the core values stemming from the fact that Aunt Jemima's origin is based on a racial stereotype. Opponents of the name change often mention that Nancy Green, the first black actress to play the iconic role, was born a slave and grew into a storyteller, cook, and an activist. While there have been other actresses over the years, the official Aunt Jemima website states that Green is the one who brought that brand to life. After the name change was announced, rumors circulated the internet that Ms. Green was the first black millionaire in the US, but those reports have since been disputed. While the branding is changing and the iconic character is going away, the company is quick to announce that the syrup ingredients have not changed. They've also said that they're not pulling the products off the shelf. So if you collect these kind of things, there's still some opportunities to go out there and buy the old packaging and save it for when it changes, and then you'll have a collector's item for the future. Okay, moving over to Eastern Bloc countries who are striking back against big tech and globalism in general, and doing things that the Western nations really should be emulating but aren't. Being described by many as the most important political speech in a decade, Russian President Vladimir Putin has given a big middle finger to the World Economic Forum in Davos and to the Great Reset. This is similar to what he did back in September of 2005 when he issued a scathing critique of the geopolitical landscape of the time directly to the United Nations. Putin brought down the House of Cards this time when speaking at the WEF for the first time in nearly a decade. He told Klaus Schwab and the rest of the WEF that their entire idea of the global reset is not only doomed to failure, but is counter to everything modern leadership should be pursuing. What was especially interesting to me was that Chinese Chairman Xi said basically the same thing. Now, you know that I'm a huge skeptic of China's policies, but I have to back them up when they pretty much told the WF to stuff the Great Reset back into the hole in which it was conceived. And again, a big critic of Russia here, but I have to agree with his critique that the hyper-financialized post-Soviet era is accurate. I also agree that the West should be running away from the Great Reset. But unfortunately, it doesn't seem like anyone in the US administration heard a word that he said. And finally, speaking of the Biden administration, they are doubling down on the draconian restrictions we've all experienced over the last year. First of all, even though he says that the US will have enough vaccine to inoculate 300 million people by the end of the summer, he says that we'll still be stuck breathing filtered through air through our masks all the way through 2022. Speaking at the National Institute of Health on Thursday, he told reporters that even though he was standing on stage about 10 feet away from Dr. Anthony Fauci and Dr. Francis Collins, that he would continue to wear his mask. He said that wearing the mask through the next year can save a significant number of lives. This comes on the heels of his January 20th announcement that he was mandating masks for all interstate travel, including airports, planes, ships, buses, and all other types of public transportation. And it's gotten even worse from there. According to Florida Governor Ron DeSantis and Senator Marco Rubio, Biden is now considering banning all the domestic travel within Florida. At a press conference on February 12th, DeSantis called this unconstitutional, saying that any attempt to restrict by the federal government would be an attack on our state done purely for political purposes. But to end on a more positive note, Americans should really be happy and excited and optimistic about this 2-year time frame that's been laid out by Biden. Because you go and you get somebody like Sharon Peacock, who's the director of the COVID-19 Genomics UK Consortium. She's doubling down even on that. Discussing the matter with Reuters, she said that, but I think looking into the future, we're going to be doing this for years. We're still going to be doing this 10 years down the line, in my view. So that's a slice of the freedom and liberty news this week in this unfree world. Remember always, peaceful resistance is not futile. Have a great week ahead. Go out there and kick some ass. And if you haven't subscribed yet, make sure you hit the link in the description and subscribe to Palm Tree Research right now so that every Friday you'll get the inside scoop on the latest infringements and wins in your fight for freedom and liberty. If you enjoyed this edition of the Pirate Post Weekly, please hit the like or the share button. We would really appreciate it.